Moving on. Josh Pate, who's been very high on the Oklahoma Sooners this offseason, continues to be so. We'll discuss the JP poll and where he had John Mateer ranked among college football quarterbacks coming up next here on Locked On Sooners.
You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Once again, thanks for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there. Tune in and subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Jay, we've had several polls come out over the last week and a half. We had the coaches poll that had Oklahoma just outside of the top 25 as the highest vote getter in the country, according to the coaches. The AP poll that came out on Monday had Oklahoma at number 18. If you didn't think that was positive enough, our guy Josh Pate at the Josh Pate College Football Show, now with On3, released his preseason JP poll, the power rating system of Josh Pate, and had the Oklahoma Sooners at number 10.
Nobody believes that Oklahoma is going to be that good. There's no way that anybody thinks that Oklahoma should be considered a top 10 team. Now, let me get you guys, for the uninitiated, this is a power rating, not rankings. He doesn't rank the teams. He puts the teams on there based upon where Vegas believes they would be favored. So anybody after them means that they would most likely be a dog against Oklahoma on a neutral site. And so when you look at this bad boy here, John, JP thinks that only Texas and Alabama will be favorites in a game against Oklahoma. Florida may be a favorite as well, but LSU, Ole Miss, Michigan, South Carolina, Tennessee would all be dogs against Oklahoma. Isn't that fascinating?
It's incredibly fascinating. And also consider that Oklahoma was the fourth highest ranked SEC team on that list.
Fourth. It's pretty high.
Behind Texas, Georgia, Alabama. That's it. And you mentioned
Florida.
Texas and Alabama. Those are the only two teams on Oklahoma's schedule that Josh Pate would have favored over Oklahoma.
It's crazy to believe that. Because, I mean, when you look at the schedule, you're like, okay, Oklahoma's schedule is super tough. It's going to be really, really hard. How exactly will Oklahoma navigate this? And I have been in the mindset, and I've been the vocal one, just like you, John, saying, doesn't think the schedule's going to be as tough people think. Doesn't seem like this schedule's going to be as tough as everybody's is expecting, because is it really going to be that tough? Is the schedule, are these teams going to be as good as everybody's expecting? But when you look at JP's poll, he's kind of telling us that now. He's saying, I don't know about LSU and Ole Miss, which LSU was the one that surprised me the most on this. And I'm wondering if it's really around that offensive line, because last year I was actually talking to somebody earlier today, yesterday, and we were talking about LSU, and he was like, LSU kind of struggled in the run game, even with all those NFL linemen. They kind of struggled. I was like, I didn't think about it that way. Well, that line is basically new, and the question is, will it struggle again this year, even with the veteran presence of Garrett Nussmeier and those wide receivers? And I was like, that's something to think about, because we know Texas has got 4 new linemen. Basically, they've replaced a lot of offensive linemen, so we're waiting to see what that experience and what that gel looks like. LSU, same, but you was expecting them to be better. But when you really think about it, that was a valid point. Now we got questions, like serious ones.
Yeah, I think LSU is one of those teams that I think has a really high ceiling, but they've got questions they have to answer along the offensive line, similar to Oklahoma. Yeah. But I think with what everybody feels about Oklahoma's interior, with EPL, Troy Everett, Fabeche Wewu, excuse me. Maybe there's a little bit of confidence there. Yeah, Derek Simmons and Jacob Sexton, maybe there's some confidence there. But yeah, I think more than that, though, it speaks to what Josh Pate thinks of Oklahoma's defense, which is what a lot of people think, is that Oklahoma's defense has a chance to be one of the very best in the nation in 2025. And I think that's probably why we're seeing Texas put up there at number 1. Yes, Arch Manning has a chance to be really, really good. Those wide receivers, Ryan Wingo, DeAndre Moore, they're going to be really, really good as well. But the offensive line is a question. But the defense is not. The defense is going to be really, really good. And that's something you can count on, you can bank on. For Oklahoma, they're a top 10 team because their defense is going to be really good and the offense is going to be much better than what it was last year.
Agreed. And that defensive line, man, that's the thing. That number one in the SEC, a lot of people were saying it. I ain't the only one saying it. Like me, argue with your mom if you want to.
Yeah.
It's being said by people that believe it, and I'm kind of in the mindset of believing it too. Could be possible. Well,
and beyond that, everything just feels different. This feels like a more confident team. This feels like a team that's ready to go win some games. And I think the other surprise here is how low Josh Pate is on South Carolina. And that's with a Lenora Sellers, who a lot of people believe is the best quarterback in college football entering 2025. Yeah. And is a Heisman contender and has some really intriguing weapons on offense. The issue with South Carolina is they lost a ton on their defense. Yes, they bring back Dylan Stewart, who's fantastic, but you lost Kyle Kennard. You lost one of the most athletic and explosive safeties to the NFL draft. You lost interior defensive linemen. You lost linebackers. Like, that's a group that is going to have to answer some questions on the defensive side of the ball for everybody to feel more confident in who they are. Ole Miss, I think, the same way. You lost a ton off of that team that just missed out on the playoff. And so that one doesn't surprise me that they're behind Oklahoma, but more so South Carolina being back at 17. That one does surprise me a little bit.
Yeah. That one is the one that made me say, 17. That he must, and I need to go listen to the show to really get all the context. But for me, just us being able to look at this at our opinion from here, he must really have questions about that defense, John. Because there's been a lot of people that's talked about that defense. I've heard people ask questions saying, look, Dylan Stewart is the elite, but you ain't got Kyle Kennard no more. Mm-mm. Right? There's something that there's been a few people that have pointed that out on the defense side. And it's funny because on even the squad show, you guys will hear that coming up very soon too. Gordy asked the question, who's the top receiver for South Carolina?
Is it Nick
Who's
Harbor?
The running back? I mean, We've been saying it for 3 years for Nick Harbor, right? Has it happened yet?
No.
I was like, fair point. Fair point. So we don't know what it's going to be yet. We got to see it. We got to see who Lenore Sellers turns into his top guy. And then at that point, we'll have a better idea.
Yeah, there's still a lot of questions that need to be answered. Excuse me. And I think what was most intriguing to me when I looked at this is all of the teams that are breaking in new starting quarterbacks, guys that had never started before, or guys that started a few games like in the second half of last year that are now going to be leading the team, like DJ Lagway or Marcel Reed at their spots. And there's a lot of quarterback turnover, which is why I'm kind of higher on Oklahoma, because yes, they bring in a new quarterback, but it's a very experienced quarterback, somebody who's in his third year at the collegiate level. He's got a full season of starting snaps under his belt, and he's got continuity with his offensive coordinator. That kind of stuff matters, man. And he's a guy that has a chance to do something special this year.
That's true. Got a chance. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. And that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Sooners. Thanks so much for tuning in, being a part of the show. Subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. And thanks for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. For your second listen of the day, check out the Portal Show. Brian Smith has the latest rumors, portal entries, and signings. Be the most informed fan on the rapid changes to the college football landscape. Find the Portal on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Make sure you follow Jay at Unfair Sports. Go check out his channel, Unfair Sports, over on YouTube. You can follow me at John9Williams and read my work covering the Sooners over at SoonersWire.com. The show is at Locked On Sooners on all of your favorite social media platforms. But until next time, he's Jay Smith. I'm John Williams. We'll talk to you then. Boomer
Sooner.
Things are looking up.
Poll season.
The best season.